Just, this is like a public service question, I guess. Do you Negroes feel bad that you are very reactionary, no self-restraint, no regard for other human life, pretty dumb, probably 10 points lower IQ than white people, plus you have that sub-Saharan gene, which makes you a jungle bunny?
Hey, Brian Colin, you have so many aliases, but do you mind if I just call you Brian? You say Negroes have no self-restraint, no regard for human life. Let me ask you a quick question. Your son has a few battery charges. Does that make him a Negro? Felony domestic violence charge? No regard for human life. I guess that makes him a jungle bunny, huh, Brian? Brian, if you had been half the father as you are a racist, maybe your son wouldn't be strung out right now trying to deal with his demon.
This is like a public service question, I guess. Do you Negroes feel bad that you are very reactionary, no self-restraint, no regard for other human life, pretty dumb, probably 10 points lower IQ than white people, plus you have that sub-Saharan gene, which makes you a jungle bunny and an animal. So that's why you're having a hard time getting by in society. If you just looked at your own behavior, maybe you could help fix it. I don't know. I don't think you just want to. I think you just like living like that. Animals. But whatever.
Hi, John. How are you? Do you want to see some pictures of what I did over the weekend? This is me and my friends walking to the football game. This is the marching band right before the football game. I saw this guy wearing this sweatshirt. I thought it was kind of cool. This was the score of the last 2 minutes of the first quarter. This is me walking around the tailgate area after the game. I wish I had taken a picture of this before I started eating it, but this was a plate of food that I got from a complete stranger at the game. And good God, there was so much food, and it was good. And then after the game, horses showed up. Yes, horses. That was a North Carolina A&T homecoming game, John. Are you familiar with North Carolina A&T? But before I get to that, John, I want to ask you a question. Are you an aerospace engineer? Do you know any aerospace engineers? I know aerospace engineers. I know 2 of them, and they're both black. Do you have a computer science degree, John? Or better yet, do you have a PhD in computer science? Do you know anybody with a PhD in computer science? Because I do, and she also happens to be black. What about mechanical engineering, John? Do you know anyone with a PhD in mechanical engineering? Because I do, and they're all black. What about a dual degree? Do you know anyone with a master's in geology and a PhD in mathematics? Do you know anyone like that, John? Because I do, and he's black. His wife's a professor. She also has a PhD in chemistry. And surprise, surprise, she's also black. Do you see where I'm going with this, John? All those people I mentioned, they either teach or have graduated from North Carolina A&T. And just for the record, for those of you who say they have lower standards at HBCUs, because North Carolina A&T is an HBCU, that's not possible. If you are an institute of higher learning and you offer an associate's, a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, you have to be accredited, and all those accreditation standards are the same for everyone. They do not lower standards for any institute of higher learning. Now, with all that being said, John, all those people I mentioned, I'm almost 100% certain they have a higher degree than you. So if their IQs are lower, as you put it, how smart does that make you? Let me answer that question for you, John. Obviously not smart enough to not be a racist piece of shit. Well, anyway, this has been Doc for Diesel Punk Industries saying, keep right. Thanks for watching, and as always, crunchy white pimp.
See, it's not your racism that's the problem, because we know that's all you've got. That's all your parents passed down to you. That's all their parents passed down to them. That's all their parents' parents passed down to them, and so on and so forth. So we understand that's all you got. We understand that the entirety of your lives, the entirety of your personality has been built upon the foundation of racism, and that's all you have. The problem comes in when you think your racism inspires fear, when you think your racism makes you sound tough or look tough or whatever the case may be. But here's the truth that you know and we know, and you know we know. You just simply aren't built for one-on-one combat. The only true power that you have lies at the end of your weapon, You know it, and we know it. And we know that that is why you'll single out one black person, say a truck driver in North Carolina traveling alone, and swoop down on him like a pack of rabid dogs. Because that's the only way you can do it. Like sneaky little, dirty little rats skulking through the mud in the dead of night. That is what you are. And that is what you'll always be. Because it's not patriotism that drives you. It's fear. You know it. And we know it. And you know we know it.
White men commit mass shootings to create terror in an attempt to control people the same way they used to use lynchings to try to control people, because white culture is white supremacy. Once we start realizing that this violence that white people are perpetuating against the nation is rooted in racism and is a result of basically generational trauma of them attending these lynchings, cutting people's body parts off, setting them on fire, taking photos of it, taking body parts home as souvenirs, and they've literally watched this violence, perpetuated this violence for a really, really long time, and now it's just something that they do, and they're raised up in this environment of violence is the answer. Literally from the moment they open their eyes, they have guns in their hands, and they're taught like, oh, somebody breaks into your home, shoot them. Somebody does something to someone you love, shoot them. That's literally what they're taught, and that was something that was taught to them throughout the entire generations. Oh, you don't like black people, you don't think they're equal, they didn't listen to you, kill them, lynch them. Like, that's literally what they've been taught, and they're continuing the cycle of violence because it's in their culture. And the reason why.
So, for many times, white people have made black people have low self-esteem because we gave into what they said or what they told us. And you understand how this has devastating effects towards our self-esteem or towards how we think and feel about ourselves. I'm talking about this white person that called black people as people with low IQ. Probably that's what he was taught to believe about black people. But you understand that this racial gaslight that has been happening is to always to make a black person think low of themselves. And you understand the lies that have been spread about black people. Because the person that called black people as people with low IQ generally it doesn't understand how genetics works and how race affects genetics, right? And I think amongst the debates that people have heard in recent past histories, you understand that people have questioned between the black race and other races which race is the most intelligent. Let me take you back to history. It is black people. Let's talk about earliest civilization. I'm talking about things that happened in Egypt. The person that came with writing, the person that came with mathematics, the person that came with science, it is black people. The black people who are in Egypt are the ones who came with this. And so I think it takes you a part, and it's your responsibility as a black person to learn that if you get to listen to history from these people, they're going to be lying to you. You need to understand the greatness. You need to understand how talented, how genius, how brilliant black people were since time immemorial. Right. And so the white person coming out and calling people, black people as of low IQ, I think it needs to, check himself and look if he understands history. Is meeting a lot of backlash, definitely from the black community, because we have black people that claps back in regards to this. And I think it's important that we get to hear people's perspective in regards to this. And I'm saying, if you're watching me for the first time, I'm asking you to please subscribe to the channel, join the membership, and really get to see what I can offer you. And for those who are always coming back every day to watch my videos, subscribe, share, man, I'm really, really grateful for the support that you giving me. And I'll take this time to let you watch the video, then I'll be back. I'll be sharing my thoughts. Why are we always having these people that gaslight black people? So stay tuned as you watch the video. I'll be back, and then I'll be sharing my thoughts in regards to this. So stay tuned.
They won't stray away from this being their culture, and instead just embracing, being Italian, being German, being French. Instead of just embracing the cultures that they come from, they are angry with black people because, one, they took where we came from. We don't know our, I guess, lineage. And so instead we've created a whole new culture surrounding the fact that, you know, we were freed and we are black and we take pride in that. And they want to be able to take pride in being white instead of their culture, when really we are celebrating our culture. We don't know where our roots are from. We can't have, you know, Ethiopian pride because we don't know if we're from there. So instead, we created our own culture, our own food, our own music. We created all these things, and they still want to hold on to just being white. And somehow they can't put the pieces together that there's something different in having pride in being black, because there's culture surrounding that. And they don't understand that the reason why you can't be proud for being white is because you're being proud of being a white supremacist. It's literally what your culture is, because there's no other culture surrounding being white. Again, you have Italian heritage, you have you know, French, German, whatever. You have all of those things that you could take pride in, but instead you're trying to take pride in being white. But yeah, this is something that they really need to completely unlearn, because I think it makes them very, very insecure when they already have roots and things that they can be proud of.
Vindictive demographic that you need to watch out for are the mediocre white men. Because what do you mean? You can clean up and look good, put on some nice clothes, and people will believe that you belong in leadership. What do you mean that people will listen to you when you speak? Automatically gain respect. Having that kind of advantage and still being poor and mediocre tells you a lot about that person's mindset. Hard done by, victim mindset, and then someone else has to pay. Look at the majority of the supremacist movement and who actually funds that movement. Who's the majority in the movement? You may think that the most privileged white men are the movement, but that's not true. The bottom of the hierarchy think that this is the way to gain power. I'm still gonna include the liberal, mediocre white men in this group because they just found their way of coping to coast being mediocre. They benefit off of other people's labor. That's their strategy. They love to be low effort, coast, and they believe that's their right and entitlement. If you're a hard worker and someone very competent, they love that about you. They love to powergasm. They love to ride on the backs, especially women of the global majority, because that's where they can feel powerful. You are worth more, but they can have power over you. They love that. Do not ever get enmeshed with these individuals because it's hard enough to deal with them in corporate and business. You do not want them in your house or have finances entangled with this person. He feels entitled to your labor, and he's gonna make sure that you pay him with a lifetime of slavery.
I said white people in that video because I meant white people, and white women are included in that number. Y'all always try to do this thing where we speak about the atrocities committed by white people against black and brown groups and other marginalized groups across the globe. And here y'all come with this bullshit about, we are also scared of them. I beg your damn pardon. Y'all have been complicit since day one. So many wars and conflicts have been started simply because y'all felt like making trouble that motherfucking day, okay? Y'all have been hand in hand with white men from day one, taking, pillaging, stealing, all of it. Y'all have been right there, two peas in a white supremacist pod. And what's funny is there have been books written about the special kind of hell that enslaved black people endured at the hands of the master's wives. Why? Because the masters were not involved with the day-to-day. They had the money and they had the power because they were the men of the house. They were not dealing every day face-to-face, hand-to-hand with the folks that they enslaved. But you know who was? The wives, the mistress of the home was running all that shit. Every day face-to-face, who were white women interacting with during times of enslavement? Who were white women choosing to nurse their children and raise their children? Y'all are in fear because you did clownery, and now the clown is coming back to bite. Y'all were a part of it, so y'all gonna get these consequences too.
It's not just historically where y'all have chosen your race over your gender. It's recent as well. You showed it in the way that you continue to vote against your own best interests in order to punish other people. So that was cute and that was a nice try. Take that somewhere else. Y'all are just as complicit and the leopard is finna eat your face.
Hey, TikTok. So last night, I had the pleasure of going on to this new live. And the gentleman was a white guy, and he was talking about white on white crime, right? So it was very interesting. So I wanted to, hear more about it. So as I'm listening, he was talking about himself, growing up as a white man in, a home where, whites were viewed as superior, other races weren't. And he said, one day as he was walking down the street with his daughter, he passed by a white guy. He didn't have to look back. He said, but as he was passing a black gentleman, he said he had to look back 3 times because of the things that were instilled in his head about black people in general. So he had to bring awareness to that because he was like, you know what, this is crazy. So he started doing research. So when he looked on the FBI statistics website page, table 43, he was able to see that a lot of white people commit more crimes than any other race. So the gentleman was like, look, let's talk about it, right? So one gentleman came up, he let him come up. He said, why do you think it's so much white on white crime? He said, well, blacks commit 13%. He said, we're not doing that. He said, I specifically asked you about white on white crime. I'm looking at table 43 and I'm telling you, we as white men commit more crimes than any other race. That guest went into a frenzy. He was spiraling. He was like, sir, what are you talking about? 13%? He went over that. He debunked it. He said, that's not even it. That's as far as arrests. He said, white people make up, they're the minority. They're the majority. They're 59%. So if it's 59% of white people committing more crimes, why are you saying blacks commit more when it's us? And the gentleman, the guest, just spiraled out and said the N-word. And it's like, so I stayed engaged. I said, okay, let me listen at more. So as I'm looking in the comments in the live, I'm seeing white men. And I notice with these lives, and I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of MAGA men are on these lives. A lot of them are hateful men. And that's why we're in the situation we're in now, because of hate like that. So I like the fact that the host had to deconstruct himself from that behavior that he was taught as a child and growing up. There are a few white content creators on here. I think one of them, his name is Danny G. He was in jail and he talks about how he had to deconstruct his mindset from racism because he was raised in that. So a lot of them are understanding now that is something that is taught. But then when you come out into the real world and you become an adult, you start to see things differently. So then the gentleman brought up another guest. And he seemed very intelligent, but, I still wanted to hear his, argument. So he asked the gentleman, he said, so what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to, what is your goal? Talking about white on white crime. So I'm sitting back in my head like, why would that even be a question? That's just me. Why would that be a question? He's telling you what he's doing. So what is the problem? You know, in my head. So he said, sir, I'm trying to bring awareness and I'm trying to hold accountability. He said, I'm letting my people know that they need to get it together. They need to stop with this. You know, they're the reason why a lot of things are going on. So the guest was like, I don't see that. I said, oh my God. So now he brought up a scenario, the host. He said, you know, Matt Gaetz, right? He was like, yeah. He said, so you know all the scandals and everything that Matt Gaetz went through, how the media, now this is on the media side of it, so he made up this scenario. He said they overlooked it. They didn't look at him as a villain or a tyrant, you know, or, you know, less than. They coddled him. He said you didn't hear about all over the news about what Matt Gaetz did. It was like they swept it under the floor. He said, but when the Trayvon Martin trial was going on, he was saying how Fox News and other, you know, media outlets were digging and finding things about him, trying to drag him as a black man, this and that. So he said, so how is it different when a white man can do all of these heinous things like Matt Gaetz, but it's swept under the rug and coddled, but then you view Trayvon Martin as just a horrific criminal? You know what the guy said? I think you're making that up. I don't see what you're talking about. I said, what the fuck? This is what and then in the comments, I'm still looking just to see. Remember I had a video talking about mirroring and the regurgitated talking points that white people do? They were doing it in his live. Talking about looting, the 13%, you know, victims. And it was like, oh my God, they really don't want to be held accountable. And I mean, it was just crazy to see how these men were acting. So after looking at that, I said, okay. I said, I need to make a video about that. And this is what I'm going to say to you white men. You're the reason why the world is in the situation that it's in now. You have reigned on society for centuries. You have done dirt. You have killed, murdered, raped. You have done all types of shit and never been held accountable for it. And I like that because now it shows me that you still think that you're superior and better than anyone else when you're not. You white men are the problem. You're the problem. Because you have been told and you have been raised to think that you can do what you want to do and get away with it. And it has been shown that as well. That's why you can't see a problem with your behavior, because you've been doing it for so long and been able to get away with it. Whereas if a black man, a Mexican, Latino, Asian, if any of them do the crimes that you do, oh, they will get definitely penalized for that. Jail time. You guys get a slap on the wrist. And that's what that host was trying to allude to them, but they did not want to listen to that. And until you get it together, white community, I hope every other white person is getting it together and putting you on blast. Fix your own shit. And that's what Charlie Kirk should have did. Instead of focusing on other minorities, he should have been focusing on you. And I've been putting that table 43 out for years as far as white crime. And people have ignored it. But I'm glad that we are sitting down and back, because now when you sit down and sit back, it makes other people now have to deal with their issues. And see, white people, now it's coming to a head. So now you are going to have to deal with these issues, that you are the most vile race out here. Statistics don't lie. You guys do. And it's been proven throughout centuries. You are liars, you're killers, you're barbarians, you're all of that. And until you fix that issue, I hope your own keeps calling you out for your blatant racism and barbaric ways.
You know, as hard as it is to see, mass shootings happen, especially at the scale that they're happening to, and especially in places where people should be safe, I also know white people. And I'm learning more about us every single day. And all of a sudden, all these white people...
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. I'm your host and presenter, him.WATCH Stories. Let's have a chat in regards to this, because I believe that this concept is a concept that we need to talk about. It's a concept that it's really, really important. So many times, so many instances in different situations, we have seen black people succumb. This kind of people that they think that they're a group of people that are great, and black people are not great. And so they'll use so many ways of gaslighting, of stereotyping black people with some things. Now, we want to understand this concept, right? Now, when a white man claims black people are of low IQ, this doesn't just reveal whatever it says. It reveals something deep in history, something also deep in psychology, that this is a gaslighting, a tactic which is rooted in white supremacy, right? The statement is not about intelligence. The statement is about control. The statement, it's also about continuation of the colonial propaganda, which was designed to convince oppressor and oppressed that white domination is natural and justified. Look at back from the 18th century onwards, we had Europeans who had all these pseudo-scientific sciences. The pseudoscience always revealed that, according to them, that's what they believe, that black genes was an inferior gene and white gene was a superior gene. This leads us to what is called eugenics, right? And now, this is how the pseudoscientific Europeans, abused eugenics to push the narrative that black people are of a lower race, like the black race was a lower race and the white race was a superior race. And this led to some things like they didn't want black people to intermarry with white people. They didn't want the mixing because, according to their mind, the black gene or the black race was not a desirable race, right? Like Samuel Morton and Francis Galton, they falsely measured the skulls and fabricated racial hierarchies to claim that Africans were intellectually inferior. These two scientists, Samuel Morton and Francis Galton, they falsely measured the skull of Africans. After giving all these inaccurate data about the skulls that they measured, that's what everyone took. That's what everyone believed. But people didn't take the time to understand that all these has always been part of the pseudoscience that they are trying to push to make a black person look like is not intelligent or something. Also, I like to talk about the gaslight in this context. Gaslight in this context, I think it means systematically making black people doubt their own worth, and this is something that they have done for a long time. They've managed to do this. They came and told you that black is not beauty. And we've seen a lot of people suffer because of this. We have seen the rise of black people bleaching their skin because they have beauty standards that they believe in. We have seen the rise of other communities like the Asian community, like the Latino community, all these groups of people trying to body shame people with black skin. Like colorism became an issue because they have their beauty standards. And you understand that this is the book of the oppressor. This is what the oppressor really wanted you people to, go through. They wanted you to follow the path. And I think successfully they managed to make black people and other groups follow that path. Black people started seeing their beauty, black is not enough. They started bleaching their skin. They started hating themselves. And I see this self-hate in the black community was as a result of the gaslighting that happened, right? By constantly being told they are less capable or less intelligent, black people are pressured to internalize inferiority, a psychological warfare tactic that keeps them in defensive position. This manipulation ensures that even when black people achieve greatness, their intelligence is questioned, their success is labeled as lack, or their achievements are minimized. It's the same tactic used in workplaces, the same tactic used in schools, and the same tactic which still used in media, right? To subtly reinforce what whiteness equals to competence, while blackness equals to deficiency, right? Also, another point that you need to understand is that this gaslighting has institutional support. Yes, it has the support, right? Educational curriculum in many Western societies glorify European achievements while erasing or downplaying African civilizations such as Mali, Nubia, or Kush, which had advanced systems of governance, trade, and education. Long before Europe emerged from its dark ages, the constant omission of African intellectuals contributions reinforces the illusion that black people are latecomers to civilization rather than its founders. And thus, when white individuals repeat these low IQ narratives, they are echoing centuries of deliberate misinformation meant to uphold racial hierarchies. Also, something that I would like to address or put stress on this is that the irony is that many of the greatest innovation in science, music, mathematics, and politics have come from black minds, from Himotep, the first recorded physician, to George Washington Carver, Kathleen Johnson, and countless of modern innovators. Yet the narratives of low intelligence persist because it serves a psychological purpose. It keeps the oppressor morally comfortable while keeping the oppressed in perpetual doubt. This is the essence of gaslighting, to distort reality so effectively that the truth becomes controversial itself. So brothers and sisters, please let me know what you feel and think about this video. But until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.